Ridge was a small colony on the far edge of explored space. It was a quiet place where people lived simple lives. Many of them worked in farming, mining, and supply stations. They were far from the busy and powerful centers of the galaxy. Most days passed in peace, and nothing unusual ever happened. But one night, everything changed. The sky above the colony turned dark as strange shadows appeared. At first, people thought it was only a broken satellite or some harmless mining ship passing by. But then the alarms began to sound. Loud warnings echoed through every street and building. The colonists looked up and saw the ships entering the atmosphere. They were known for their cruelty. They attacked weak settlements and took what they wanted. Ridge had no strong defenses. The colony leaders knew they could not survive an attack. Inside the main command building, a young technician named Aaron Price watched the radar screen with frightened eyes. He saw dozens of enemy ships approaching. His hands shook, but he pressed the emergency button and sent out a distress signal. It was a simple message. It said they needed help. It said they would not last long. After sending the message, Aaron looked around and saw that many others in the room were scared too. No one knew if anyone would hear them. Far away, in a different part of the galaxy, the human station Helios Gate was running its normal routines. The station was large and full of busy workers. Human ships came and went every day. Humans had many responsibilities in the galaxy, and they were known as. This name came from the fact that humans came from a very dangerous planet. Many other species respected and feared them. On Helios Gate, communications officer Laura Brooks sat at her station. She was calm and focused as she checked incoming messages. Most of them were simple requests or regular reports, but then something unusual caught her attention. A signal with high priority flashed on her screen. Laura clicked on it and listened. It was the SOS from Ridge. Laura felt a small twist of worry in her stomach. She quickly stood up and walked to the central command room. Inside, Fleet Captain Daniel was reviewing schedules for ship repairs and supply runs. He was a serious man with a strong presence, and people respected him greatly. When Laura entered, he noticed the look on her face. "What is it?" he asked. "It's a distress call," she said. "A colony called Ridge is being attacked by They request immediate help." Captain paused for a moment. The room became quiet. Everyone knew they were dangerous. Everyone also knew that many species would avoid getting involved. The galaxy often chose diplomacy or slow negotiations when someone was attacked. But humans were different. Turned toward the tactical screen and pulled up the colony's location. It was far, but not too far. Still, if they sent a normal support team, it would take too long. The people on the colony might not survive. "We are sending the Horizon," he said. Several officers looked up with surprise. The Horizon was a powerful human warship. It was built for battle, not for simple rescue missions, but did not wait for questions. He gave out orders to prepare the ship. Laura quickly returned to her station and relayed the command. All across Helios Gate, crew members moved fast. Engines were checked. Weapons were tested. Supplies were loaded. The Horizon's crew boarded the ship with determination in their steps. They did not hesitate. Outside the station, the Horizon glowed with strong white lights as its engines powered up. The ship was large and strong, made of dark metal and thick armor. When people looked at it, they felt safe. When enemies looked at it, they felt fear. As the Horizon prepared to leave, rumors started to spread across nearby stations and ships. Many aliens could not believe that humans had sent a warship instead of medical teams or negotiators. But they did not understand human thinking. Humans knew that sometimes the only way to save lives was to remove the threat. Back on Ridge, the situation was getting worse. They had already burned several buildings. Colonists were trapped inside shelters, hoping the doors would hold. In one bunker, a group of families huddled together. Among them was a woman named Corinne Hill, holding her young son close. She tried to stay calm for him, but inside she was terrified. Above the colony, ships continued to circle like hungry predators. Their weapons fired without mercy. Every few minutes the ground shook from explosions. Aaron Price, who had sent the SOS, watched through a cracked window as another tower collapsed. He hoped someone would come. He hoped the message reached someone who cared. And far across the stars, the horizon leaped into. Inside the warship, Captain stood on the bridge. The screens around him showed blue light stretching in long streams as the ship traveled faster than light. The crew worked calmly and professionally. Tactical Officer Lane checked the ship's systems again and again to make sure everything was ready. He knew they would arrive in the middle of a battle. "We will reach the colony soon," said. Nodded. "Once we arrive, we assess the situation immediately. We protect any survivors. We neutralize the—" There was no doubt in his voice, no hesitation. The crew trusted him completely. Meanwhile, news of the human warship spread to nearby sectors. Alien traders whispered in fear and disbelief. Some wondered why humans were acting so aggressively. Others realized the truth. Humans had not changed. They still protected those who called for help, but they did it in their own way. Back on the colony, things were reaching a final breaking point. They were preparing to breach the main bunker where most survivors were hiding. Their ground forces approached the reinforced doors. The colonists inside could hear metallic claws scraping at the metal. Children cried softly. Adults prayed. Everyone feared the worst. The sky above them glowed red from fire and explosions. The air was filled with smoke. Every person inside knew that the attackers would break in soon. But then something unexpected happened. A bright flash appeared in the sky. It was small at first, like a tiny star. Then it grew bigger and brighter. The ships paused for a moment, confused. The colonists looked up with hope. The horizon was arriving. And with it, the fate of Ridge was about to change. The horizon came out of with a bright flash of light. The sky above Ridge changed as the human warship appeared. It looked like a dark metal giant rising from nothing, and the moment it arrived, everything in the battle shifted. Even from the ground, the colonists could see the massive ship hanging in the sky like a silent protector. Captain stood on the bridge the moment the jump finished. His eyes moved across the screens, taking in the situation quickly. The colony was burning. Several buildings were destroyed. Smoke rose up from many places. And most of all, the ships were everywhere, circling the colony like vultures. Tactical Officer Lane gave his first report. Multiple enemy ships detected. They are attacking the colony and preparing to breach the main bunker. Gave his command without hesitation. Open a channel to the fleet. Laura Brooks sent the signal. Her voice was calm even though her heart was racing. Attention forces. This is the human warship horizon. Cease all attacks and withdraw immediately. Her message spread through the air in a clear, strong tone. They heard it. Their ships paused for a moment, almost as if confused. Then, instead of withdrawing, they opened fire. Bright blasts from their weapons shot toward the horizon. The bridge shook slightly from the impact, but the shields held steady. Glanced at, they are not backing down. Captain did not look angry. He did not look surprised. He only gave one more command. Return fire. The horizon's weapons came alive. Blue-white beams shot out from the warship, hitting the vessels with clean accuracy. The first enemy ship exploded in a silent flash. Then another, and another. Each shot was controlled. Each strike was exact. On the ground, the colonists watched the sky as light flashed again and again. Corinne Hill held her son close as she listened to the distant thunder of explosions. For the first time since the attack began, she felt hope. Inside the main bunker, people whispered that help had arrived. Some cried from relief. Others looked toward the sky through cracks in the doors, unable to believe a single warship was fighting an entire enemy group. The however were shocked. They had heard stories of humans, but most of them thought the stories were exaggerated. Now they understood the truth. Humans were not weak. Humans did not run. and when they sent a warship, it meant the battle was already lost for the enemy. A group of fighters attempted to regroup and form a defensive line. Their leader, a tall and warrior named Or, shouted orders to his troops. He believed they could overwhelm the horizon if they attacked together. They could not. The horizon fired again, cutting through the formation easily. One of the largest enemy cruisers tried to launch a heavy torpedo, but the human ship intercepted it with a quick laser shot before it could even move far. Lane read the results on his screen. Enemy forces are breaking. Several ships are retreating. Captain nodded. Ensure none of them can regroup near the colony. The Horizon's engines hummed as the ship moved forward, chasing down the fleeing vessels. Every shot was controlled, never wasteful. Within minutes, the fleet was in chaos. Many of their ships were destroyed. The rest were trying to escape. Allowed the last few to retreat into space. He was not interested in hunting them across the galaxy. His priority was the colony. Prepare landing teams, he said. We go down there now. Minutes later, a group of launched from the Horizon. Captain Brooks was in charge of the ground team. She stood at the front of the transport, holding onto the rail as the ship sped toward the surface. Her voice was calm, steady, and focused. Our first goal is to secure the bunker. There are civilians inside. Stay sharp and move quickly. The door opened, letting in the smell of smoke and burned metal. The colony below was damaged badly, but there were still signs of life. Could see people waving from broken rooftops. She could also see ground units near the bunker. Landing here, the pilot shouted. The touchdown hard was the first out, followed by human Marines. Their armor was dark, strong, and designed for tough environments. As soon as they stepped onto the ground, they noticed them. A group opened fire. The Marines moved fast. They took cover behind what remained of a wall and returned fire. Their shots were steady and clean. Within seconds, the ground units were pushed back. Advance toward the bunker entrance. Clear the area and keep watch, she ordered. When the Marines reached the bunker door, they saw that the metal had been scratched and damaged by enemy claws. Touched the control panel beside the door and knocked. It's safe now, she said. This is the human ship Horizon. We are here to help. Inside the bunker, people gasped. Some cried again. A guard moved to the door and opened it slowly. When the heavy metal panel slid aside, bright light poured in. Karen Hill stepped out holding her son. Her face showed shock and relief at the same time. You came, she said softly. Nodded, of course we came. As more families stepped out of the bunker, Marines helped them move to safer locations. Medics checked for injuries. Supplies were passed around. The colonists looked at the Marines with amazement. The humans looked tired but confident. Meanwhile, Captain had also come down to the surface. He walked through the damaged streets with and Laura. They saw destroyed buildings, cracked roads, and debris everywhere. But they also saw survivors gathering together, talking and finally feeling safe. Aaron Price met near the remains of the command center. The young technician looked exhausted but relieved. You got our message, Aaron said. Placed a steady hand on his shoulder. We heard you, and we came as fast as we could. Aaron nodded. Thank you. We thought no one would make it in time. The sound of another explosion echoed in the distance. There were still small pockets of forces on the ground. Saw the smoke rising and looked at. Send 2 squads to clear the remaining units, he said. The Marines moved quickly. They spread out into the damaged streets. Every time they found soldiers, they engaged with careful strategy. They were aggressive, but they were not ready for trained human Marines. A small group tried to ambush a squad near a collapsed building. The Marines reacted instantly. They moved behind cover and returned fire, pushing the attackers back. Joined them, giving calm directions. Her voice remained steady even in the middle of battle. Do not let them regroup. Keep pressure on the right side. Within a few minutes, The last units on the colony were defeated. The ground became quiet again. Only the crackling of small fires and the soft wind moving through broken structures could be heard. By evening, the Horizon's crew had secured the entire colony. The colonists were moved to safe zones, and temporary shelters were set up. Medical teams treated the injured. The surviving buildings were inspected for structural safety. Captain stood near a wide open field where families were gathering. Children sat together, eating food provided by the Marines. Adults talked with relief. Some cried, but they were tears of safety, not fear. Laura walked up to, "The colony is stable now," she said. "We have a count of survivors. Most of them made it to the shelters in time." Nodded quietly. He was not smiling, but there was a calm strength in his expression. Across the field, Karen Hill approached him. She carried her son on her hip. The little boy looked at the captain with wide eyes. "You saved us," she said. "We only did what we should," replied. Karen looked at the horizon and the sky. "Why did you send a warship? Most people out here say humans would send diplomats or doctors first." Looked toward the burning horizon. "Doctors help after the danger is gone. We came to make sure you lived long enough to need doctors." Karen nodded slowly as she understood. Night began to fall, and the fires from earlier attacks slowly faded. The sky turned dark, but the horizon's lights shone brightly above. It was like a guardian watching over them. Later that night, joined at a quiet spot near the edge of the colony. The sounds of rebuilding could be heard in the distance. "You think that we'll come back?" she asked. Shook his head. "Not soon, not after today." The galaxy had seen what humans did when someone called for help. They did not send weak answers. They did not send half measures. They sent strength. They sent the horizon. The night after the battle was quiet. The smoke had mostly faded and the fires were finally under control. The horizon's lights still shone from above, watching over Ridge like a silent guardian. People slept in temporary shelters, too tired to think about anything except that they were alive. The attacks had stopped. The fear had lifted. But the colony was still wounded in many ways. At sunrise, the horizon lowered more transports with tools, supplies, and clean water. Human engineers began to repair broken power lines and damaged systems. Medical teams continued to help the injured. Every part of the colony started to move again. It was slow, but it was hopeful. Captain walked through the center of the colony with and beside him. Many people stopped him to say thank you. He never said much in return. He simply nodded or gave a quiet answer. He was not used to praise. He only cared that the people were safe. Near the old command building, they found Governor Samuel. He looked exhausted but strong enough to stand. He greeted with a firm handshake. "You saved our colony," said. "We came because you called," replied. Looked around at the wounded structures and burned rubble. Most alliances would have sent negotiators. Some would have sent medical ships. None would have sent what you sent. Looked at the damaged colony. Humans believe that help must arrive fast and with strength. A warship can save more lives than a slow response. Nodded slowly. He seemed to understand. Still, he asked, "Why risk so much for a small colony like ours?" Answered simply, "Because you asked for help, that is enough." Felt the truth in those words. He knew they would stay with him for the rest of his life. Later that morning, the Horizon scanners reported small readings in the mountains beyond the colony. Approached with a serious expression. "We picked up signs of movement far north," said. "It might be leftover forces." Did not waste time. "Send a recon team. If there are survivors or enemies, we need to know." Gathered a squad of Marines and boarded a light transport. They flew across the rough terrain, scanning for heat signatures. The land outside the colony was quiet and covered with ash and dust. Trees were scorched. Small fires still burned. As they flew closer to the mountains, the scanners picked up several shapes. Landed the transport near a rocky path. The Marines stepped out, moving carefully. They approached the shape slowly, ready for anything. But it was not. It was colonists. A group of 30 people stood huddled together near a cracked cave entrance. They were weak, tired, and covered in dirt. Some had small injuries. Some were holding crying children. They looked like they had been hiding for many hours. A tall woman stepped forward. "Are you humans?" she asked, her voice shaking with disbelief. Nodded. "We are. You're safe now." The woman burst into tears and hugged her child tightly. The Marines gave the group water and food, then escorted them to the transport. When the survivors reached the colony, people cried as they reunited with family and friends. This moment brought a new wave of emotion through the settlement. It wasn't only relief, it was joy. By afternoon, repairs were progressing faster. The Horizon sent down construction drones, and engineers from the ship worked alongside colonists. Many aliens watching from distant communication channels were surprised. Humans had not only saved the colony, they were helping rebuild it. Near a destroyed workshop, Karen Hill watched her son play with a small drone the Marines gave him. She smiled for the first time since the attack. She walked toward the area where was helping move heavy equipment. When she approached, paused his work. "My son asked me something," Karen said. "He asked why humans came so fast. What should I tell him?" Looked at her for a moment, then answered softly, "Tell him we came because no one should face danger alone." Karen nodded with a warm expression and walked back to her son. The answer comforted her. Across the colony, people worked hard. Marines cleared rubble. Engineers restored power. Medical teams helped the last of the wounded. Everything was coming back to life. But not everyone in the galaxy was pleased. Far in space, aboard a command cruiser or stood before his commander, his pride was wounded. His attack had failed. His forces had been destroyed. The humans interfered, or growled. They sent a warship. A single human ship defeated our entire force. His commander, a cold and silent figure, stared at him with narrow eyes. "You underestimated them," the commander said. "Humans are, their strength is not a myth." Or clenched his fists. "Should we attack again? Should we strike before they rebuild?" The commander shook his head. "Not now, we will wait. Humans protect their own with fire. We must learn more before moving again." The cruiser drifted through the darkness as the commander planned their next move. Back on Ridge, the colony's systems finally came back online by nightfall. Lights shone through windows for the first time since the attack. People gathered in the central square to share food and talk. The fear was gone. Joined the crowd and sat with a few Marines. They talked quietly about their families and about the mission. Even though they were soldiers, they felt connected to the people they rescued. On a small hill outside the colony, stood alone for a moment, looking at the peaceful settlement. Laura walked up beside him. "You're thinking," she said. "Always," he replied. "You think they'll attack again?" Laura asked. "Maybe," said, "but not today, not tomorrow. They learned something important." Laura looked toward the horizon's lights. "What did they learn?" Answered with a calm voice. "They learned that when someone sends a call for help, humans don't send a whisper, they send strength." Laura nodded and stood beside him in silence. She understood. The next morning, the Horizon prepared for departure. The colony was stable. Water systems were restored. Energy grids were working. The injured were treated, and the people had hope again. Governor met near the landing platforms. "I wish you could stay longer," he said. "You do not need us anymore," replied. "You have your home back." Smiled sadly. "We will never forget what you did." Joined them, carrying her helmet under her arm. "We'll send updates to make sure nothing threatens this place again," she said. Families gathered near the edge of the platform to wave goodbye. Children held up drawings of the Horizon. Some drew the warship as a bright hero in the sky. As the humans boarded their transports, Karen Hill walked up to one last time. "I hope the galaxy learns from this," she said. "It will," replied. "Stories like this travel far." Karen nodded. "Then I hope the galaxy knows that humans came when no one else did." The transports lifted off and returned to the horizon. The huge ship slowly rose into the sky, engines glowing in the soft morning light. When the warship turned toward space, the people of Ridge watched in silence. They watched with gratitude, with awe, with respect. As the horizon left the atmosphere, communications across the galaxy began to buzz. The story spread fast. Videos of the battle, recordings of the rescue, and messages from survivors traveled through every channel. Many aliens could not believe it. Others already knew the truth. Humans did not just send aid. They sent a warship. They sent a message. And the message was simple. If you hurt the helpless, humans will come. And they will not come softly.